get your pens out. You ready to write? No, no, no. So week 4, programmed patterns prevent authenticity. I tried to make it as alliterative as possible, but I couldn't figure out a P word. No. But it's programmed patterns prevent authenticity. And so, this week, what we're really going to start to look into is our own sort of journey, right? So we all have a history of programming. And we were born to, certain parents, certain cultures, certain religions. We went to certain schools. All of these different aspects of who we are have patterned themselves onto us to shape us. And some of those we may like, right? Some of those we may be happy with. Some of those we may not like. Some of those we may not be happy with. Some of those we may not even know exist or are there. Some of them we may have not even dealt with them, even though they occurred, and they still in some way affect us and impact us, right? But all of these programmed patterns that exist within us, in essence, prevent us from being authentic, right? And what do I mean by that? It's a really sort of transformative concept. But what I mean by that is that for me to be authentic, for me to be, again, in this moment, present, right? It's almost like I have to forget everything that's happened before, right? I have to wipe myself clean of everything that I've ever done, everything that I've ever heard, felt, said, touched, tasted, whatever, right? And then with this person, with these people, right? With what's here right now in this room, I'm doing it as we're talking, right? I can be fully present, and in that next moment, I can be fully authentic. And that's easy to do here in this room, where it's safe and we sort of know each other in the perfect way to know each other, right? Which is, you sort of know each other, but you're not really going to hold the other person to too much because they're kind of still a stranger. So it'd be weird if you said like, oh, hey, I really need you to go do this for me. And it would just be like, wait, what? Like, I barely even know you. Like, why are you asking me to, raise your kids for you? Like, that's weird, right? But so there's not a lot of pressure. There's not a lot of, you're lucky, right? You're not teaching and being recorded and sharing this with everybody. I am, so I have to, be a little bit more perceptive of where my authenticity lies. But I do very well with that because that's what I'm teaching you. But it's that moment where you can lead from, right? Where what is coming out of you is not based on any past, future, right? Any sort of wanting to get or need, but it's really just from this moment, being in this experience, sharing your fullness, sharing your light, sharing your energy, sharing your joy, and bringing that to another person, right? Or group of people or whatever the case may be. And all of that programming, all of those things, like it's so hard for me to do this at work, right? It's so hard for me to do this with my kids because there's so much wrapped up in those relationships. Like with work, it's like, I have to keep my job, right? That would be important, right? I don't want to I don't want. I mean, it's mostly like I just have to keep my job. Like, there's not much other than that that's preventing me from being authentic at work, right? And with my kids, it's like, there's just so much wrapped up in how I was raised and what I faced and the way my mother and father treated me and the way I think kids should behave. And, there's so much wrapped up in that. So it's so hard to just be authentic with them, right? And see them in that moment, see where they're coming from in that moment, where they're at in that moment, and let what arises from within me come from that space of alignment and integration. And so all these program patterns that we've accumulated, right? Now we have to go back through all of them and we need to catalog them and we need to put them in binders and we need to label them. Just kidding. You don't have to do any of that, right? That sort of defeats the purpose. But in my experience and what I will share with you in this program is that there's this constant struggle between my authenticity and my inauthenticity going on. And I don't know if this is a universal struggle. I don't know if this is something we were brought forth on this plane of existence to do. But what I can tell you is that when I am in an inauthentic place, I will feel discomfort, anger, fear, sensations that are not pleasurable, right? They are not the type of sensations that I want to experience, but they are sensations that I am experiencing, and they're usually coming from a place where I have some type of pattern, some type of programming that is not allowing me to meet the universe and the experience that I'm having from a place of authenticity and presence and integration. And so it's been my experience that the sort of authentic self that I am, the sort of pre-Jeff, right, before Jeff even existed, right, that authentic inner sense and energetic that was born into this universe to be free and to be a reflection to others of the freedom that they can to experience, right? If that is in any way covered up by my dad missing my birthday or missing a shot and my coach telling me I sucked, or, right, an experience at work where, I felt like I was lesser than because I didn't stay for, 18 hours straight, right? If any of those things are cropping up, right, I'm going to be holding back in some way. I'm going to be changing myself, right? I'm going to be mutating myself in some way so that I either A, don't have to feel that thing, or B, I replace that thing with a feeling that takes the responsibility away from me. And what I mean by that is I might go into anger, depression, right? Where it's no longer, I'm not responsible for what I'm feeling. It's the world, right? The world's responsible. So I will use those programmed patterns to go to an inauthentic place so I don't have to deal with that past. So I don't have to deal with that programming. And I can stay safe in my bubble. I want you to pop your bubbles, right? I want you to get rid of these bubbles. I want you to dissolve these delusions and these sort of dilemmas within yourself where you don't feel like you can be fully you. You don't feel like you are fully you. And it's not going to be something that happens overnight, right? It's not going to be something that you just go out and do. Don't make any rash changes because you feel like something's not being you. What you're going to do with this over the course of this week is in your meditations now, right? Using be here now, now be here, setting that breath, setting that intention to breathe fully, breathe completely, breathe authentically. But notice what's stopping you from doing that. Notice what stopped you in your day from holding that same type of space that you experienced in your meditation in your day. And you will discover a lot, right? It's a constant, always on, like it's always there. It's always like we've spent so much time in our lives, right? Just saying yes when we mean no, and no when we mean yes, right? And putting on these kind of masks so that people would accept us. And in order to really get to that place of authenticity, we have to peel all those back, right? We have to look at and it's, you don't even have to do anything, right? All you have to do is, you've already set the intention by signing up for this class, by showing up here, by committing to doing your breathing. Like, your universe is going to take care of the rest for you. Now you just have to go out and live, or stay in and not live, and then feel that discomfort. Right? Avoid the world and feel the same discomfort. But you have to start to dissolve these program patterns, or you should. It's an option. You don't have to. But in my experience, where I got to this authenticity, where I got to this space where, you know, I don't get pulled out of myself very much anymore, right? Where I got to that space was through a lot of getting pulled out of myself. A lot of getting like really heated or really sad or really tired or really manic, right? A lot of that went on until I found out, like, oh, that's an interesting pattern, right? That pattern arises from XYZ. And I don't want you to mentally, so this isn't like, you know, psychoanalysis in the sense that, you know, we have to trace this back to your you know, early life and the, you know, the way that your guardians brought you up, right? I don't want you to go into that. I want you to notice what that pattern is around. So is that pattern around work? Is it around my relationships? Is it around money? Is it around social situations? Is it around my place in life, my place in my community? Is it around my, you know, my age or my experience, right? And notice what it's around, and then just look for, okay, where are the places that was influenced? Where are the places that was ingrained into me? And I started to sort of maybe take on something that wasn't my own, that didn't come from within and arise from my truth and my experience, but was really sort of projected and dictated, right? So, you know, a really obscure example. We all speak English, right? Why do we all speak English? Because that's what most of our parents spoke. but that was the language that we were taught, and that was the language that was accepted here. And so we took on this speaking of English, right? Another great example is gender, right? And this is a big issue, right? Where, I was born with male sexual tackle, right? Characteristics. And so I identified as a male, right? And so there's so many big ways that we do that, but then there's so many little ways that we've done it as well. And if I wasn't happy with my gender and my gender wasn't authentic to me, thank God we live in a place where that's okay. And if you identify as a female, but you have male sexual characteristics, I don't care. I'm happy to treat you however you want to be treated, right? I'm happy to celebrate whoever you are in your authentic self, as long as it's not harming anybody else. And that sense of, those big ways, but going all the way back into all these little ways, right? Where we've maybe taking things on that are not truly who we are. Those are the things that prevent authenticity. And those are the things that I believe that create resistance, and then through resistance create heat, right? And then through heat create fear, anger, sadness, right? Discomfort. And so anytime we're experiencing fear, anger, sadness, anytime we're experiencing discomfort, it's a place where we can integrate. It's a place where we can notice that, oh, that's some programmed pattern, right? That's some programmed pattern that I'm experiencing that has taught me that this thing is associated with fear, anger, sadness. And I don't have to go into a mental, storytelling of what that is and why it is. I like to go into my breathing practice. I like to breathe there. I like to focus on where I'm experiencing that thing. So what is the aspect of my life? What is the aspect of my experience where I'm experiencing that thing? And then what arises? What connections? What programming? What patterns? Not even do I see, right? But because I'm on this path to authenticity, because I'm on this path to developing my truest self as I can, there is a part of me that will automatically respond to that, like the child, right? Like I'm holding that child. That child will now begin to talk to me. That child will now begin to feed me perceptions and impressions to go back and deal with and integrate, because it trusts me now. Because it knows that I'm there to give it the voice, the love, the appreciation that it deserved and it never got. And so that's it. It's going to be an easy week. You'll be fine. I made it through it. You'll make it through it as well. But yeah, that's a lot. So, don't feel like you have to sort of solve that right now. Actually, don't think at all right now. Just breathe and take it in. But if anybody has any questions, let's talk about those right now, and then we'll move into meditation once we get through questions. What's up?
How do you know if you're authentic or not? I mean, like a lot.
Holly asked that last week.
Oh, sorry.
So Jan asked, how do you know if you're authentic or not? And it's just like how you know if a stove is hot or not.
So you just know.
What do you mean?
Like if say I'm yelling at someone, and it goes like, "Why are you always yelling at me?"
Right.
authentic or not. I mean, I don't. Sometimes I don't know. Maybe I said maybe you just being a whatever.
How did it feel?
You feel upset, obviously.
Then it's not authentic. Right? If it was authentic, you wouldn't be upset about it. And I'm not saying like become a sociopath, right? Like, I just scream at everybody and doesn't bother me any, right? It's like you don't want to get to that point, but you'll know because they're like the discomfort won't be there, right? And you know I definitely make mistakes, right? And I definitely have times where, right? I know that what I just did or didn't do, right? Because it's just as much what we don't do as what we do. I know when I do or don't do something that the experience that I'll have after it will indicate, right, whether it's something I need to work with and something I need to sit with and process, and that my true self is bringing that up so that I will be able to process it because it's something that I've been carrying with me and it's a pattern and I need to sort of develop it beyond that and come to a place of integration where it can become a strength. And we'll talk about that in a couple weeks. Or if it's, you know, no, for that situation, I had to raise my voice with that person and I had to put up a boundary and that boundary was very clear and they needed to know that. You see the difference? Right? One, I'm authentic. I'm putting up a boundary. This is who I am. You are not respecting that. Therefore, we can no longer do this. I'm not that upset after that. I actually will probably feel better. Right? The other one is quit treating me like shit. I'm so tired of the way you yell at me constantly all the time. And you know what? I'm taking away the credit card. Right? This is not a true story. This is not a true story. But you see the difference. Right? You see the difference. One is a reaction and I'm punishing the other person because I feel like they're not treating me the way I should be treated. And the other one is a response where I'm putting up a very clear boundary and I'm saying that this is not who I am. This is not the type of relationship that I want to be in. And I appreciate everything you've done for me, but I am no longer going to participate. Right? And it's a very different experience. So that's why I said how do you know if a stove's hot? Right? You have to feel it. You have to sense the heat. You have to sense the warmth. Maybe there's a color there that you notice, right? So there's no one way to tell you, right? It's more you have to sense it and you have to know within yourself what they feel like. Like I said, so the comment from Diana was that, she thinks that we're all authentic and everybody in this class is authentic and that, there's a part of you that you've discovered that feels different and that, through meditation and through maybe your experiences in yoga, because that's where I know a lot of you from, that you've begun to get a sense of this and you're working on developing it. And I think it's true for everybody. I think every human being on this planet has for lack of a better word, right? I don't know what it is, but it's like it's an authenticity inside of them, right? That's there, that they were born with, that we're all birthed into this world with, is this energy that literally makes our heart beat, that literally makes our mind function, right? We all have to have that. And that, going back to what I said earlier about, we pattern and we program and we place things into boxes so that we can feel safe and comfortable and not have to question our reality and who we are and whether or not we're doing things for the right reasons. We've done that on a global scale, right? And now you have people that are very confused, very battered, very beaten, very tired, very depressed, very sad, very lonely, very unfulfilled everywhere. And we have drugs and music and guns and, the internet, right? And all kinds of ways for them to never deal with that frustration and that inauthenticity. But we're part of that change, right? We're part of the class of, meditators, right? That are blazing this trail so that hopefully other people can become inspired and see what we're doing and notice what we're doing and hear what we're doing and feel what we're doing and just have a little semblance of they're different. There's something about them. There's a quality about them that's different. And maybe, just maybe, I want to know what that is. Maybe there's a little piece of me that wants to know about what that is. There's a little piece of me that knows that there's something in that that's true, that's authentic, right? That's magic. And they'll start to find it. So yeah, I think we've all tasted it, but I think it's there in everybody. And as I said, I think that's the reason you feel discomfort, right? I think that's the reason you feel upset. I think that's the reason you feel sad and lonely and tired and depressed, is because you've shut down this part of yourself in some way, right? And it's a pattern. It's some programming that you received along the way. It wasn't like you deliberately do this, right? It's part of life, right? It's part of people not wanting to deal with emotion and sensation. They shut down. They find ways to box it in and sort of block it out. So it's a good struggle. Anything else? All right. Let's sit.